So last question was from Kate, and now I'm gonna ask EricaSosna a question about. It's like last year we were doing Design for Change in Taiwan, and today, this year, we would like to expand the scale for the students, for the young people in Taiwan. We want to encourage them to do more creative actions toward their real life problems, dilemmas. And what's your suggestion to the young people in Taiwan to do this kind of things, and what will be the dilemma, or what's the technique to do that? Yeah.
Well, okay, it's a good question. I mean, I don't know what the format is in Design for Change about how you diagnose what your need is, what your problem is.
It can be, it's the feel thing. It's like they can feel everything in life that may be like question, like Kate, like Kiran's story today. It's like if maybe you feel you're lonely, maybe you feel the community is very dirty. Yes, this kind of everyday life that it's difficult for them.
See, I think that there's a challenge there that maybe it's too broad. I always think that the best way to be creative is within a boundary.
Ah, okay.
And I learned this through my own self, that when I first set up my project, I just went, I really want to share these kinds of ideas with people. So I didn't really have any specific boundaries around what I did, who I did it with, why I did it, all of that. And actually it was more difficult then, with that huge freedom, than actually it is when I started to put a structure around what I would and would not do, who I wanted to work for, etc. And within that framework, it's become easier to be creative. And I just wonder whether there's something in the fact that maybe it's too free.
Mm-hmm.
It's an idea, but so one thing I might try would be choose a particular theme.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
For example, it was quite interesting when the grade 7s were talking about their personal projects today.
Yes.
And the difference between somebody who wanted to improve their handwriting, someone who wanted to improve their anger management, and someone who wanted to experiment with art. Those for me were like more authentic projects in a way, than things where quite often people are saying, I want to clear up the garbage. Now, of course, what I'm not saying is don't try and solve the problem of cleaning up garbage. Of course, people should, and it annoys me as much as anyone else that there's bloody plastic bottles all over India. Right?
Yes.
However, I guess I might ask it see if you can find a more profound way to answer the question.
Yes.
Of what causes you pain.
I think that's that's very important. For example, last year we were having this. We have this story. Many of them are talking about environmental protection, but some of them are. They have many things they're gonna do, but they didn't do that profoundly. In the other hand, some of the stories, some of the teams, they know it's the environmental protection idea they want to do, but they focus on certain area. They focus on certain certain ideas and implement them greatly.
I think that's the other thing that from what you said actually is also that in a lot of design thinking, your first idea is not your best idea. Maybe your 22nd idea is your best idea. And the challenge for us is, can we stay with the creative process?
Yes.
Instead of going, oh, okay, all right, we've thought of one thing, yes, let's do that. Let's keep thinking about other things that we could do. And from that, make a choice. And maybe that would also help to create more creative solutions and also to build on top of the first idea.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a couple of things that strike me. There's one thing that we use in in creativity for young people called yes and, which means that if you're building an idea, never to say no. So sometimes we try it out by telling a story and then saying I tell a bit and then you say yes and you tell me another bit of the story.
Yeah.
I say yes and. So I'm always saying yes to what you said and you're saying yes to what I said, and together we make something big. And it strikes me that the opportunity in Design for Change is to learn how to do that also. So can you take a concept and keep saying yes and to it and see what flourishes from the combined efforts of people's thoughts?
Yes.
That would be one thing I would try. And the other thing that it sort of brought to mind for me, the whole project, was a few years ago I saw some of my colleagues working with a big group of kids in a school, and they were talking about bullying and about culture.
Bullying.
And they introduced this idea of the bin, like a paper bin, a waste paper bin, and that each of us has this bin in front of us. And when we do or say something that hurts someone else, it's like we throw something in their bin.
Okay.
And this was a group of about 100 11-year-olds. And so they explained this idea, and everyone kind of got the idea that we've all got this bin and things go in it and they're not so nice, they're kind of rubbishy things. And then they said, stand up if your bin is full. If you've had enough of all these things. And it still makes me feel really now, because 90% of that room stood up. 90 children stood up and said, my bin is full, you know. It's filled with pain and with, you know, shame and with horrible things that people have said and done, and the weight that I'm carrying of this heavy bin at 11, and it just broke my heart, you know. They then asked, how many of you have filled someone else's bin? How many of you would be brave enough to stand up and say, you know what, sometimes I fill people's bins. And where does that come from? Why would I do that? And I thought that was really interesting, because it's not just about the victim and the guilt, which we do quite a lot, like, you know, these kids are disadvantaged and I'm going to do this charitable thing.
No.
Or, you know, these people are oppressed and I'm going to... It's like, in what way are you oppressor?
It's
well?
a more confession.
Yeah, more confessional, more compassionate, more vulnerable.
Yes.
And how can you take your exploration with the young people to a place where it feels safe and also risky? That actually we're going somewhere now that isn't just, yes, everyone does environmental projects, or yes, be nice to each other. We're really going somewhere quite exciting. You know? And that's where, you know, the potential for Design for Change can go.
Yeah.
You know, there are lots of good projects where things encourage kids to go and do something nice for somebody else. And lots of those initiatives have come before. But to stop that becoming a very generic thing, you've got to put the heart into it. And to put heart into it, you also have to look at pain. So really looking at the idea of what's painful for you on a day, you know, and can we even, how do we even identify that or have those questions? And then how do we sit with that discomfort before we can then go on to solutions? Because actually to solve those really painful things, you have to look at the pain. And we're not in the habit of going, hey, let's all get out our most difficult parts of ourselves, or the bits we're a bit embarrassed about, and let's put them on the table and have a good look at them so we can solve them. It's not really something that we do, but I think that's where the edge is. And I think it would be really exciting if young people wanted to take that opportunity, because that's where they become real change agents. That's where, as a world, we don't like to look at our pain. We like to think about quick fix solutions. We like to think that the first idea will solve it. We like to think about the fastest way to do something. That is our culture. It's a mass disposable culture, and it hasn't got us what we want. So maybe there is another way to approach this using design thinking that looks more deeply. You think about an onion as a problem, and we tend to think about the first layer of the onion as the first, what I call the presenting problem. It's actually only the first layer of the problem. An onion has many, 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 many layers. Can you diagnose what's the real problem? And solve that instead of solving the other layers around it.
Find the root cause.
Absolutely, find the root cause and tackle that. And that is not to say at all that there is no value in working with your community or clearing up your local area, or any of the amazing things that we've seen done. I just challenge you, as Kieran says, challenge. I challenge you. Can you do better than that? You know, that's what you build on, isn't it? To year on year, to do something more remarkable, to challenge yourself more, to stretch yourself more, you know. And for those kids who've done it before, do it again and do it at a higher level. See if you can make it a deeper level, a deeper level of truth in what you do. And I think that's where the most powerful provocative ideas come from. Just a really quick example also, because I think there's something important about not being against things, but being pro things. I always get in a bit of a mood when I see people demonstrate. In England at the moment, lots of students are demonstrating about tuition fees. I have loads of sympathy because my education was free. I was very, very lucky. And I also believe that education should be free. There's a difference between, I believe education should be free, and I am having a demonstration against the tuition fees. You see the difference? So I always believe that it's best to promote what you want, to be the change, not to oppose, to spend your energy opposing something. And I just want to give you an example I found really inspiring. So normally speaking, I will go on a peace march, but I won't go on an anti-war march. Yeah? So if you say you're pro-peace, I'll come. If you're doing anti-war or anti-government, I won't go. Because I'm not up for opposition. I'm up for being the change. And a really great example of this for me was my friend Marina Pepper. She's on Facebook if you're all on Facebook. And Marina Pepper runs something called Climate Camp in the UK. And she used to be a journalist, very interesting character. Now she's an activist. But what she's best at is coordinating activist activity in a really playful way. So, you can see on the Climate Camp website all the things they did in Copenhagen, but in the UK they had a demonstration about Crisis for Christmas. So Crisis for Christmas is a homeless centre, and on Christmas Day it's open, and any homeless person can come and have a Christmas meal at the Crisis Centre in London. And for whatever reason related to government cuts, Crisis wasn't going to be open one Christmas. So they took a whole bunch of people who normally sleep on the streets and they parked them outside the government building in their sleeping bags with their dogs, because often homeless people have a dog. And very peacefully sat there with the dogs and everything and said, listen, we'd really like Crisis to be open for Christmas. Do you think that you could get the minister down who's responsible for it so he could talk to us, because that's what we would like. Very, very polite, very fun, very friendly. The minister comes down, he offers everyone a cup of tea, even the dogs get water, they all have a conversation and they agree, yes, we can have it open, why not? It can be open. And that for me was a brilliant example of a demo. And she said, there was even a photograph of everyone having, all the tramps having tea, and everyone going, yay, Crisis is open. So it was a real win-win. They found a way for everyone to win. And those are, for me, the most exciting situations, when you can solve a problem in a win-win way. A serious problem, a problem that could be very depressing, could make you feel really sad, could make you feel really anxious, and you find a joyful way for everyone to find a solution to that. That's really exciting. I want to see kids do that.
Not only positive thinking, but positively design thinking.
Positive design thinking. Be the change, be the solution. And do it with joy, even when there's pain behind it. That's really exciting.
That's so nice. May I? Okay, handshake. Thank you, Sosna.
No worries, dude. See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye,
bye-bye, and bye-bye then.